Hello, everybody. So, in light of recent events, I wanted to make a quick little video on how you can get help if you're unsure whether something or not might be wrong with you. So, just a quick disclaimer. I know that the healthcare system is vastly different in America and in Europe. Also, within the European Union or within Europe itself, each country has a different healthcare system. Now, I also want to give you some comparisons in regard to my own story, as I had to reach the young age of 27 in order for me to get professional help. So, the first thing I want to talk about is admitting to yourself that you might be afraid of not having anything wrong with you, which was a huge deal for myself, because only when I finally got my diagnosis I realized I had been afraid of a professional telling me, oh no, there's nothing wrong with you at all, you're just being overly emotional. Which is kind of funny if you consider the fact that I have borderline personality disorder, which is generally described as feeling too much. Now, I also always told myself, oh no, there are people who hear voices, one of them being a relative of a close friend of mine. There are people who are really suicidal. Unlike myself, I had only been through anorexia, several suicidal phases. I had hurt myself. I was completely unable to sleep because I woke like 30 times every night and I was completely unrested. And I told myself, no, you're just overplaying it. You're just a crybaby. You do not deserve quote-unquote help. And that's simply not true. If you suspect something's wrong with you, even if it might not be hearing voices or something extreme like that, you still deserve to reach out and get help. Even if it's a temporary thing, you're going through a really hard time, you still deserve help with that. So the first thing really is admitting to yourself, okay, I'm in a place, I might need help, I deserve to get help, and do not be afraid of quote-unquote having nothing wrong with you at all, okay? Now, the second thing is in relation to healthcare, and here's where it might be different for the people living in America than for people living in Europe. I was fortunate enough to find a psychiatrist, the one who diagnosed me, who prescribes me my meds, who was paid for by my health insurance, by my universal health insurance. However, if you do not have the luxury, I encourage you to seek out hotlines. I will link some lists to hotlines down below, in particular international numbers for suicide, and I encourage you to call hotlines if you feel there might be something wrong with you. Your best case scenario is that they might actually be able to give you an address to turn to give you another number to turn to. They might provide you with ideas where to go or how to proceed. And I will try to find other hotlines, not just for suicide, but maybe for other things as well. A quick Google search will most likely give you a whole list of numbers that you can call if you're a victim of domestic violence, if you're suicidal, if you have this and that going on. So even though there might not be a physical doctor in your close proximity, there is still a possibility for you to reach out. Okay? the next point that I want to talk about is actual therapy. Now, I'm going to also link the sites that I'm talking about below. And this, of course, is my own experience. This also only relates to Austria or Vienna, but I think there might be similar institutions in your area as well. Now, when I got my diagnosis and my psychiatrist told me, okay, you need therapy, I can only prescribe you meds, but you definitely need therapy, he gave me a list of websites to help me. Now, the first one is actually a great thing. It is a website where you enter your region as well as the type of therapy that you would prefer and your health insurance, Krankenkasse, and it will do the search for you and give you a list of therapists paid for by your health insurance in your region that still have, that still take on patients. Now, unfortunately, with that, I learned that the website is actually only updated every 3 months or so. So even though you might get a list of therapists, they might no longer have a spot for you, which was the case for me. However, I think it's a great thing still to turn to, and if you're from another country, another place, do check out Google if there might not be something for your country, your area, which might be similar to that. Now, what I did next was turn to the Sigmund Freud private university clinic. Now, it is situated in Vienna near the Schottenring U-Bahn station, which is a metro station. So it's very easy to get there by public transport. What that is an institution from the Sigmund Freud private university, where you can learn how to be, amongst other things, a psychotherapist. And it basically is a clinic run by students of that university who are in the process of or very near to finishing their studies to be a licensed psychotherapist. So if you go there and you seek therapy, you will be in therapy with somebody who is still studying, but who is also in the process of finishing their studies. Now, that is obviously something that you have to want to do. I can understand why not everybody might be comfortable with that idea, but of course they are also very closely supervised by, their professors, by professionals. To me, that wasn't a big deal, and I'm going to briefly explain you what they offer and what they ask for in return, okay? So, what they offer is psychotherapy. If you decide to apply there for therapy, you will go through 3 steps. The first one is sort of a basic quick talk about why you've come to them, what is your main issue. It shouldn't take too long. For me, it took very long because I had another emotional breakdown and spent like half an hour just crying to the guy who did that interview with me. But they are super nice. They will help you. They tell you it's totally okay to be emotional. So that's the first step. Then in the next one, you will have an in-depth interview to sort of give them a better understanding of what might actually be going on with you. You will be asked in detail about past traumas, about your emotional state right now, whether you have any addictions going on, whether you're hearing voices, whether you're suicidal, and whatever. And in my case, I was definitely suicidal. I was at a point where I basically woke up every morning again asking myself, why haven't you killed yourself yet? You know, where I could no longer take the public transport alone because I was so tempted to throw myself in front of the metro train. So in that case, they will make sure that your case sort of gets handled quicker, because there is obviously an emergency situation right now. So that's the second step. Then the third step will be the first interview with your therapist. In my case, it was the therapist together with her supervisor, where they will again briefly talk to you and maybe probe around a little bit, see if you work out together. And for me, that was the case. For my boyfriend, it wasn't. He was actually transferred to another therapist after his first talk. I stayed with mine. I actually got an additional one. So that's the 3 steps. Now, since this is not sponsored by health insurance, you do have to pay for your sessions. However, you pay a fee that depends on your netto income. So as a student who is working 3 jobs and not making very much money, I only have to pay 15 euros per session, which is very little in regards to like how much I would pay sort of to a licensed quote-unquote therapist outside of that university clinic. They also offer therapy sessions in different languages. I chose to do mine in English, first of all because it meant that I would get to therapy sooner, and second of all because I think it's easier for me to talk about my feelings in English, and thirdly because I always look for options to, you know, speak English, to stay in language, so to speak. Now, what they ask for in return is really not much. They give you the options to consent to have students of the Sigmund Freud University Clinic watch your therapy sessions, but that is entirely optional. They also give you the option to consent to having your therapy sessions filmed. But again, this is all optional. You do not have to do that, and you will be asked beforehand if they plan to do that with a specific sessions of yours. Now, that is, of course, only relevant to Vienna. However, I think there might be a similar service by a university in your country. I think it's at least a great idea, and if you just Google it, you might actually find a place that has a similar offer like this. Now, I realize not everybody has the option to go to therapy because it really can be super expensive, which is a shame. However, I do encourage you, if you think there's something wrong with you, go to Google. Do not self-diagnose, but go to Google and look for places where you can get help within your financial means. And the last thing, which should be a given, which can be very difficult, and where I am still in the process of learning how to do that, is to reach out to people you trust, to talk to them. You know, even if they cannot give you any professional help, it can still be a great relief to just have them know what you're going through. Now, for me, I was terribly afraid of telling my therapy what was going on with me, especially since my family went through some tough times during that as well. However, I've learned that even if my parents have their own problems, even if there's something wrong with them, they still want to know what's going on with me, you know, my friends as well. Of course, there will be some who judge you, there will be some like, nope, I don't want to have to do with that, I don't want to. However, even if your friends, your family cannot physically understand what you're going through just because their brain is wired differently, they might still be able to sympathize. And the knowledge that there is somebody out there who cares about your well-being can already make so much more of a difference. So once again, I encourage you, reach out to somebody that you trust. Even if they're not able to help you with anything, just the knowledge can really make a big difference. So I hope I gave you some ideas of what you might be able to do, even if you cannot get professional therapy right off the bat. I hope I could give you some ideas of where to turn to or how to go about getting help, because getting started can be really difficult as well. Until the next time, I wish you all the best. Stay happy, stay healthy, and much love and hugs to you. Bye bye.